Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to bleed brakes on any Shimano hydraulic disc brake system. These are the Shimano SLXs. May seem overwhelming, but it's really quite simple. Now for tools, you're just going to need a bleed kit for whatever company brakes you have. It could be Shimano, SRAM, Tektro, Avid, whatever. It's usually going to come with one of these syringes, one of these needle blocker pins, whatever, a little tubing hose. You may or may not get one of these, but this is a block, so this will fill in the space between your pads so that they don't get stuck pulled together. Also forgot to mention that you might want a rag. I don't have a rag because mine's sitting down on my car right now, but keep a good rag because the mineral oil is pretty nasty stuff and it's hard to get off your hands. Now the first step is of course taking off the rear wheel, and once you have the rear wheel off, you're going to want to come over to your brake caliper. So this is the brake system. As you can see, this is the Shimano SLX. All brake systems are going to be slightly different, but they're all pretty much the same. First thing we're going to do is take off the pads, and as you can see, we have this little pin here, and that pin is holding in this screw. Just take off this pin here. I already have this loosened, so I can just hand loosen this, but this is just the screw here. Once it's unthreaded, pull it out. And make sure you're putting all of this stuff on a clean surface. I have a clean Ziploc bag. Just pull them out. And be careful not to touch the inside of the pads because you will contaminate them. These will also go onto a clean surface. You're gonna take your bleed block, whatever. And then you just want to stick this in. So from here, you're just gonna wanna look at your brake handle for whichever brake that you're bleeding. So I'm doing the rear brake, which is the right handle. As you can see here, I can pull it now because I have the bleed block in. Loosen this bolt right here and simply move your whole brake handle upwards like so, and just tighten it back in the upwards position. So now that you have your hole opened here, you're just going to want to take your vial, and this is where all the dirty mineral oil is going to go, and just stick it in. Now the reason that we raise the brake handle is so that this is level. Okay, from here we're going to want to fill up the syringe, and I'll show you guys how to do that. Okay, so now that you have your syringe filled with oil, you're going to notice that there's a little air bubble right here. Get it up to the top of the vial and simply squeeze, and you're going to get a lot of fluid out, so I would recommend having a rag. As you can see, we now have all the air bubbles out, and you're still going to have a little bit of air at the top, but that's all right. We can get that out later in the process. So from here, sometimes you're going to need a hex, sometimes you're going to need a wrench. I'm going to need a 7mm to loosen the bleed nipple, which usually these will have caps. This one was missing. This is the bleed nipple right here. Okay, so now that your syringe is full, we're going to put it onto the bleed nipple. Obviously, I recommend holding the syringe like this, but I'm working with one hand here because I have to hold the camera. Okay, so now that we have the wrench on, we're just going to loosen it until it feels loose, but not too much, because we just want to let the mineral oil flow through the caliper. So I loosened mine about a half turn. Now we're just going to want to take the syringe and start injecting. Okay, so once you have most of the fluid through, and I apologize that the video wasn't great, you want to leave a little bit at the top of the syringe. Then you're going to want to set the syringe somewhere that it won't come off, so you can go up to the front of the bike and start working with that fluid that you pumped through. So this is how I set up my syringe. I'm sure there's probably a better way to do it, but as I said, it's a little bit difficult because I'm only working with one hand. But just make sure that tubing stays on and tight. So we'll go up to the cockpit and deal with this. Yours might look a lot worse than this. This is actually pretty good condition. I've seen brown and black come out of my bike, so. Okay, so for getting residual air out, you're just gonna want to flick the line a couple of times. So you got that flicked, and then you're just gonna want to come to your brake handle, tap that a couple times. And this is gonna send some of the fluid back to your syringe, but most importantly, it's getting out the air. Okay, so once you have most of your fluid pumped through, you're just going to want to tighten this bolt again, and then we'll move up to the cockpit. Syringe is off, bolt is tightened. Okay, so now you're going to take your pin and put it into your vial. And this is going to keep the fluid from coming out. Like so. Then remove and set somewhere where it won't spill. Then put your screw back in. Then take out your brake block. Clean the caliper of any residual oil, and then put your pads back in. hang on, this is gonna take 2 hands because I gotta get this through the hole. Once tightened, you're good to go to put the wheel on and see how it feels. And once the wheel's on, you're all set to go. Much better.